Hello traders, this is Alex with the StockMatrix program. We did have one trade that came in Friday. Again, the trend has been kind of mixed on the as an index, right, as a StockMatrix index on the 17 select stocks. First, let's just do the intro here. This is the X account that establishes, puts on where the trades, if I haven't done a video, right. So you can look at this, get an update, and I'll put this, what we review today on here as well, so you can review it or share it. And then let's go to the actual portfolio. This is our portfolio. We have 17 select stocks. We've had 87 trades, and it's been about a half a year, a little over. And we started on January 6th. So I do $1 per trade, so I know that I have, well, that's 17 we have currently on. So I know that, we've had 70 trades that have been taken off. Now the first batch were all losers, so because the trend was down and it happened to be a low. So we went with the trend, of course, on the 6th, and then immediately had to get spun out and went long. So that first batch was a loser, which is, par for the course. You got to pay your entry fee. So anyway, you can see, done well. We've got over, close to 40%. We started with 150. Now we got 55 grand if we took out everything. Now the closed positions are about 20 grand. So, and the last trade that we took off was Google. It had puts on. It was a loser. We lost approximately half or 50% of our total premium, I believe. Let's just take a look. Yeah, 1485. So over half. And then we put the new one on. Now we got calls on. Spent about 1580. We're out into October, so I try to do at least 90 days or more. So that's kind of why the newer trades, and I think we have 97 days before these October ones expire. So another week, and then if it gets beyond that, then we'll go to November or December, right? So again, the year's flying by. This test period that we've done since January has been somewhat successful. Again, we've had a pretty good drop, right? A V bottom. So went from down 25%, 30, 40, 50% on some, and then immediately now some of them are making new highs, right? So that V bottom is our bonus. Now we took a loss, right? But again, there's been no, I don't know. We'll look at the charts and we can kind of make a discussion from there. All right, let's go to the StockMatrix program. We'll just move directly to the charts since there hasn't been a whole lot of activity. Now here's NVIDIA. Our stops got moved up a tick. Again, I chart using the quarter moons, and my pricing is a square of 9. So one tick, one box up, right? So it went from 138.30 to 141.10, which I don't know why I didn't. 141.10. All right, so that's where the stop is moved to. And you can see new highs. It's been a nice climb from this pretty good corrective drip. We broke trend, gapped up, so that all the positive stuff. Now again, the market ain't breaking, man. All these markets, here's Meta, they're not breaking. So you got to be a little careful being a bear. When it does break, it immediately, reclaims all its losses. So, and unless we're making a high in here, it makes sense that this. I guess again, I don't know, but I'm not a fundamentalist. But the Trump tariffs must be filling some type of void. I think people are positive. If it wasn't going to work, right? Because these guys are smart. They're a lot smarter than any of you guys or myself, right? These people that push these markets around, they're not dumb. So they know that either the market's undervalued or overvalued. Well, sure, it's trading like the stock as a whole, right? All the indexes are undervalued. That's why it doesn't break much. So it tells me it's overvalued. So what you'll find back in history, when the markets get undervalued, then you have some type of rush to the upper echelon of the charts, or maybe new highs, and all the people that are short are wrong, and they lose money, and then they bail out, and then that becomes the high, right? So we haven't got up to that point where I think it's knocked out all the bears, and everybody gets one-sided. Again, we still have 5. We got 6 down and 11 up, right? So we did flip one of those, which again that would have been -8. So again, we definitely still have a few holdouts from turning this thing up, and I imagine we're not probably going to get a high until all these are long. Makes a little sense to me. Okay, let's go to Coke. Here's that stalling pattern. I guess I called it a diamond early, and I was pretty excited, but it's a dud, right? So the trend is sideways. So you got to assume sell it here, buy it, here. If it doesn't do any of that, that's at the minimum, right? If it doesn't do any of that, you just leave it alone. And again, my comments are my opinion, which has nothing to do with the StockMatrix program, right? The program does whatever it does. My opinions, based on my 4 decades of trading, can either amplify the StockMatrix position, or I go counter to it, which I've proven that I lose on countering any system because systems are there for a reason. So anyway, just so you know that, right? That's my caveat. But yeah, we had a little drip down here on Google, and now it's back up to the highs. We did get stopped in. I didn't like the stop, but again, the system don't care. I would have kept it in new highs here, but the system got long here. This is the one that we got spun on. Now, it's the dog of the family. It maybe doesn't have fleas, but it definitely is the dog. Now, again, because you got all the other ones making new highs. We're about halfway. Here's the Gann's cardinal cross, right? So the one-to-one cross from lows to highs. So we're not even up to that yet. So here's Microsoft again, one of those that keep creeping. The stops slowly get ground up. Now the next week, which is when we complete July 18th, which will, let me see, let me look at my calendar. July 18th is a Friday. So before the end of the weekend, we'll be pushing the stops up. So to here, right? So now that becomes a pretty serious jump in stats. We got long at 393 on the stock side of it. Now the options, we're in there. We got it long on April 29th. So definitely long in the tooth. We got long before this big gap. So a great trade. Again, following the trend. It's a simple thing. Excuse me. So I would expect this market to kind of keep trading up. Now we'll probably have, excuse me, we'll probably have some big shock and awe moment. Something will happen. They're going to try to stir the pot. The support, of course, is these old highs, right? So that's a long ways down there. Hopefully, we can raise our stops up before that. All right, let's go to Amazon. Again, a creeper, not near new highs, but it is definitely creeping. Now, again, I talk about a lot of this stuff. If you only got slick kind of money, you want to be in those vertical trends. Stay out of Google, Amazon, right? If you got a choice, you want to stay in those volatile markets that are going much faster. I preach that the whole time, and you would have made much more money being long Meta than you would be long Google. So, as an example, or Amazon, right? So, again, when I dog with fleas, I don't mean it's not going to make new highs. I'm just saying it takes more time. It's slower. The trends are 1 or 2 by 1 versus 5 by 1 on Meta or something, right? So again, the speed of the recovery is a lot less. Again, because for one thing, everybody has a lot of Amazon. Everybody has a lot of NVIDIA. So Apple, which this one, again, a dog with fleas, it's long. It's a creeper. And, if you'd have bought it when when we made the lows, you haven't made any money. Where Meta, I don't know. Well, I know in our options we made 400%, right? So or more. So again, this we're kind of in a zone, right? This was 135 degrees off the secondary event, and 180 degrees was this low. So we're definitely playing within the kiddie pool here. 225% from this area, which was a low. 90 degrees over was this high as well, right? So again, it's to me, if this is the dog with fleas, everybody has Apple. Every investment club, group, insurance company has Apple in their portfolio. Tesla comes out with a phone, and they'll have definitely some competition there. Again, I'm an anti-Apple fan, so just to give you my 2 cents. So here's one. This is Tesla. Forgot to move my stop over. Now it didn't go down in price. Well, I guess it did. Hang on. So again, the stop is right here at 361. I do have the stop right. So again, just kind of a chopper. This is the uptrend line. We're kind of in that channel from the 2 low events. So again, the solar eclipses, which is the previous one and the one before that, is longer term support. So if we bust it down into here, I would be kind of friendly to me in a buying mantra for sure. Here's Lynn. Again, kind of a chopper. Slowed down, right? This weird action, this beautiful bear trap. And now we've had the bull trap, right? For every action is equal, but counter reaction makes sense, right? Now, again, you don't know. It could go up here and do the trap as well. So unproven yet that this trap is, I think you've already would have doubled your money if you bought puts up here on that pot, but whole nother story, right? The solar eclipse is here, so kind of definitely would make sense we go at least to that if you're waiting for a dip to buy. Here is ED. Again, the bull of bulls when everything was bearish. So we made our highs, our lows, and all the other important stocks on April 7th, 8th. This one made its high on April 5th. So the day before. So again, and now we're trending down because they're all trending up. So again, it makes sense via the opposite deal. Now whether it deserves or not, again, I'm not a fundamental guy. I don't know what the dividends are or anything like that, if it's worthy of holding or not. But for sure, if we ever spin this back around and go up, then you got to assume Meta, NVIDIA, and all the other big dogs are probably topping out, right? So again, this has been the fade trade. Adobe, kind of the dog, definitely with fleas. We're caught in this huge one-to-one channel. Part of the problem, I think, here is the Doge is probably going to find a lot of government contracts for Adobe that we don't use. So, I mean, you're talking a $400 stock here. I mean, it ain't cheap. I've never paid once for Adobe, so no, not directly, maybe indirectly, right? But so again, it makes sense that this thing's a dog with fleas. I would stay out of this one actually. Too many gaps anyway. If I'd have known it had all these gaps, I would have never put it on here. That should have been one of my criterias. Here's IBM. You can see we just keep chipping it away. It's kind of a slower slog percentage-wise, but again, definitely a quality stock. You know, they were late to the AI game, at least making it public right now. They might have been implementing something under the weeds that we weren't aware of. The stop did get moved up to here to 276, 276, 96. I'm going to put that in there quick. So again, we're definitely locking in a pretty good profit, even if we get gapped through by a little bit. This one was a spinner, BK. It's been a slow, we had an outside event and another outside event, now an inside event, oops, and now we're finally popped new highs. So it's been a chippy choppity. I wouldn't buy new highs in BK. It appears like we're trading, you know, this action here looks like we're trading at a little overvalued. That doesn't mean, you know, that the fundamentals can't catch up, but I just think it's going to be a slow slog. You know, buy the dip if you're super bullish. Again, you can see we get some. So it isn't like it's like Meta where it goes straight up and you don't get a chance to buy a weekly break. Here's Procter & Gamble. Again, kind of the dog. You know, again, they've been negatively in the news. So I guess for all practical purposes, this one probably should stay out of. I got a fear on 63, and I'm updating this. I forgot to do this one. You can see that the stops are down here now. The one-to-ones here, you know, you could, you know, be here, but I'm going to just assume that we're going to chip around. So the stops are a little too tight for me, but again, whatever. 90 degrees over on the second cycle of this low event from low to low. So I got to assume, let's go back and take a look at that low. Yeah, I mean, that's in the realm, right? So I got to assume there's going to be a crap ton of stops underneath that 153.09. I can't imagine this dog not taking that out, right? So I'm assuming support down here. And if you got to be a buyer, let's say you've been stock averaging down, buying down on Procter & Gamble and you're a dividend guy or something, I would be patiently waiting for a new low down in here somewhere to do your average. I don't like those stock average down plays personally. Of course, I'm more of a trader. I'm not a I have a hard time being long term on anything. Yeah, I don't know the dividend. Maybe it's well worth it, but I just don't like buying new lows just because. But yeah, here's JPM, new highs this moon period. This last one that went off on the 10th. Now today, Friday was the 11th. I'm doing this video on the 12th, July 12th of 2025. So again, kind of an outside event, which you know I'm more neutral on. The stops did get moved up to here from here, so that's a big push up. And definitely we got long at 243. So we're locking in a decent profit. Got long on April 23rd, back in the solar eclipse zone. Here is Coinbase. You can see another new high. Well, let me pull up. I wasn't going to do the dailies, but let me pull this one up just to. I got to confirm Coinbase here. Hang on. Yeah, here's the opening. This is the data that I have from Instant Software. I believe it's from the bar chart format. Anyway, you can see this is the high. So that was the opening, and it got hammered, right? So I don't know if that was the opening. I'm going back to see. It's kind of important to me. It wasn't. No, it wasn't the open. So we opened here at, maybe jot these number downs if you're a Coinbase trader. The open was 381. The high was 429. It closed at low 410 and closed at 328. So this first day of trade was quite active. And you can see though that, you know, I always kind of talking new highs. Well, it is, right? This first day of trade is kind of a little fictitious because there's no volume, but and you can see that though we're popping these highs out. I won't do the dailies today. I'm trying to do this real quick for you because really nothing changed. I'm just kind of updating you on the charts and where the stops are moving. Stops didn't get changed here at all, just in time on Cintas. Again, pop new highs. Again, I've mentioned that. Don't buy new highs, right? This is a bull trap, which makes sense to, you know, you would have doubled, tripled your put money, your premiums on your puts within probably a week at minimum. Anyway, so again, we're breaking down, again, logical support. If you've got to be a buyer on a dip, this solar eclipse closes down here. Now, of course, the one-to-ones look like we've been going through them pretty easily. So I'm assuming probably be this, maybe time frame about down into here. Somewhere right in this zone is probably for time and price. I don't know when, right? But we do have a 45-degree next moon period, so it makes sense that we travel down and get into the support area probably sometime before July 24th. And that's it. I'm going to sign off. There hasn't been much change. The trends, we've got we are now long Google, kind of in a little spooky little chipper high. But again, we still got 5 puts on, and we got 11 calls now. Not quite too lopsided where it makes me nervous. I get real lopsided when it gets really pushed in one direction. So far, since we did this since January 6th, when it gets lopsided like that and you get too many of everything on calls, then it tends to be a high in the indexes, as well as this index, right? This is the StockMatrix index of these 17 select stocks, right? Again, margin, if you had 100 shares of each one of these, which again, one call represents 100 shares or put, it'd take $474,000. So that's not a new high. 400, I just updated it twice here in a little while. But anyway, 474, we had a little higher than that on June 30th. So it's up there, right? And the previous high was in December at 471. So really, we're kind of banging on the top of this little index of select stocks, right? So, but again, half a mil to trade this index if you did 100 shares. Now we're doing it with options, so we have a lot less money involved. A much bigger percentage play. Now you would have made money doing 100 shares. Don't get me wrong, and you would have made a lot more money in cash than. But you had to put $500,000 in, and we only put in 30 grand. So again, percentage-wise, your weight to gain is much bigger using the options. A lot of people claim that the options don't work. You hear them on the internet, oh, don't use options. I'm proving it to you right now that these options work on a simple system. It's not a complex deal. It's not a massive algorithm. It is an algorithm in a sense, but it's not some big complicated deal, right? I'm using a square 9 and quarter moons. That's it. A two-box method, 3-box method. So kind of on a point and figure deal. So it's a simple deal. That's how it's. But again, if it stays with the trend, right? So, but as an example, Cintas, let me pull Cintas up here. When I was doing the trial period, I mean, it was long from way back here, right? So it made 20 some grand on the way up. It made 20 grand on the way down, or 10 grand, and then we sold it here. So that was wrong. So anyway, but again, Cintas as an example, some of these could be trend up for years. Now you have to roll the options. You have to manage it right in the options where you wouldn't have to on the shares, and you'd still make more money. But again, all your money, if you have $125,000 or $12,000 tied up back in here, I mean, and if you'd only spend 1,000, that frees you up to invest in other stuff, right? So anyway, the options do work. I'm proving that to you. Hopefully, you kind of be less fearful of them. Go back and review the videos. We're half a year in. We went through a pretty good bear market, and now we've gone into a bull. So it gives you a good view, reviewing the videos on how the StockMatrix program itself works. But again, mainly not so much that is how the options work and the flow of the options. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week of trading next week.